I hear a lot that people on keto, carnivore and ketovore get bored of so much ground beef, and it is hard sometimes to find new variations to keep it interesting. So I bring you today again an international dish. This is Königsberger Klopse, typical German. It is made with half ground beef and half ground pork, which makes the whole thing juicier and tastier. It is also boiled in broth instead of baked or fried. And it has a sauce with capers, which is quite interesting and tasty. So come with me, let's check it out. As happens so often with German ground beef recipes, also this recipe calls for a mix of ground beef and ground pork. I need 8 ounces of pork. Since I couldn't find it ground already, I will have to grind some myself. So I'm trying to weigh this. A little over 8 should be good. And I will cube this. What you usually achieve with a mix of beef and pork is a tastier and a juicier ground beef dish. So here I have my little grinder. Keep my bowl underneath. Let's weigh. Well, those are 9 ounces now. It's not, we won't be that exacting. I will just add the same amount of ground beef. So 9 ounces of ground beef. Two kinds of ground, the ground beef and ground pork. We will add 2 eggs. The original recipe calls for a whole bun of bread, but we are keto adapting this, so no bread, no breadcrumbs. If you like, you can add some pork rind, ground pork rind to this for texture and taste. I found that I don't need it because it already contains pork, so I'm good with pork there. And to this we will add a medium finely chopped onion. There we go. Also, salt and pepper to taste. You like it more salty, add more. You like less, add less. Up to everybody. Comes the pepper. There we go, I like pepper. And now I will mix this with my hands to gently mix it without over mixing it. In my next step, I will pour 1 quart of homemade beef broth into a pan. You can use store-bought or you can make your own broth. Pretty much any broth will do. I have here a beef bone broth. I will add 3 peppercorns, about a 1/4 teaspoon mustard seed, a bay leaf, and if you haven't salted your broth much, you may want to add another pinch of salt to the broth. Then I will bring all this to a slow boil. While I wait for the broth to get hot, I will start shaping my meatballs. About 2 inch and a half to 2 inch. My broth is now slowly boiling, and I will carefully set my meatballs into the broth. You all fit? One more, please. Here we go. I will now let them soak slowly on very low heat for 10 minutes. You can see it is boiling low and slow. 10 minutes have passed, and I will carefully remove my bay leaf and turn my meatballs for another 10 minutes of slow boiling and cooking. Oops, this one wants to fall apart. That's why you don't use any higher heat, because they will fall apart. They are quite like in the bread, they are a little fragile. But keto, we know that bread doesn't really add anything good. And this will go another 10 minutes. For the sauce, the original recipe of course calls for flour. I will not use flour. I will use some, how do you pronounce that? Xanthan gum. And I have here about half a cup of warm water. And I will do my best to dissolve 1 teaspoonful of that gum in my warm water. And I will add this to my sauce in the very end. That was another 10 minutes. And I will remove the meatballs carefully with a slotted spoon and set them aside. I am preparing my oven to keep them warm while I will finish the sauce. For the sauce, I have strained the broth the meatballs were sitting in, and I need about 1.5 cups of this broth, and I will warm it up. As this is heating, I will add to it about half a teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, the famous Worcestershire sauce. Also adding half a teaspoon of Dijon mustard, a little salt, and a little pepper. Now I will add some of my prepared gum mix. I'm not planning on using all. Just dissolving this and seeing how it binds my sauce. In goes also half a cup of heavy cream. Drained capers. If you put in capers, and how many depends entirely on your taste. This is about half a glassful. Yes, this is thickening, and I will do a taste test. I think a little more salt. Yep, that's it. And I'll turn this off. Add a sprinkle of lemon juice. And ready to serve. To serve, I will add a couple meatballs to my plate. This depends on individual hunger. I had put from the freezer some mashed cauliflower, which I'll use as mashed potatoes. And lastly, not leastly, my sauce. And there you have it. German style meatballs. So, time for my taste test. A little bit of meatball only. Brings back childhood memories. The onion had time to soften and is adding some sweetness to the meatball. Now I'm gonna add some sauce and a caper. This is so good. So if you ever got bored of ground beef and was looking for a new recipe, German style meatballs may be just your solution. The sauce makes them very tasty and they go very well with mashed cauliflower. Enjoy!